Good evening, everyone. I hope people can hear me. If I see there's a live chat, if you can't hear me, can someone please let me know? Because we're doing this very differently tonight. Very, very differently. 7:30 p.m. Wednesday night. For the last year or so, we've been offering these guided meditations. And but it's different tonight. For those of us who are more familiar with the Buddha's teachings, we know that he places so much emphasis on the changing nature of all things, the impermanent nature of all things, the unstable nature of all things. And so nature is teaching us if we're willing to watch and look and listen. So this evening, the change has come about. Perhaps some of you know, but 2 days ago, we closed the monastery. Again, we very quickly snapped shut the monastery because 2 days ago we had suspected COVID cases here in the monastery. Shouldn't really be a surprise, although this is the first, excuse me, serious suspected cases. And indeed, yesterday, the 2 cases were confirmed as COVID positive, and they're both doing well. They're both being well looked after and progressing very well. They're not particularly sick at the moment, which is a great blessing. But this is not new. This is for 20 months we've been watching this, so there's nothing different. Being a nun or a monk or living in a monastery, all of us have been affected by this pandemic. It just so happens that these are the first COVID positive cases that we've sustained, which I think is quite frankly, quite amazing that it has taken this long. So we're not meeting as a group. So I'm not in the Dhamma hall. I'm in my hut. I live in a small shepherd's hut. And so this is the venue. So change, instability, uncertainty, adaptability. What do we do when things change? We can't make it that things don't change. We can slow things down, we can create some sort of sense of stability, but it's not stable. And the pandemic is as horrible as it is, as completely unwanted as it is, and as much sadness it's been created because of it, and hardship, really true hardship. It can really teach us. These hard lessons are often where we learn the most. And so this evening's meditation is another opportunity for us to develop the heart and the mind that's spacious and able to receive change, able to receive everything. And I guess, to use a very old phrase in English, take everything in its stride, take it in our stride. we can receive it, adapt. We can feel the pain, we can feel the sorrow, we can feel the joy of whatever we receive, happiness, and be spacious. And meditation is this wonderful tool. It's a method to help us cultivate something that is stable, something that is unshakable, something that is not affected by conditions. It knows conditions as they change, the changing conditions of our body, our mind, our heart, and every external thing. And this is possible. Otherwise, the Buddha, I really don't feel he would teach us and point us in the direction of something that wasn't possible for all of us. That's an opinion. I don't know for sure. But he showed the way, and it's up to us to walk that way, to tread the way, to walk the path. So I think I've said kind of enough without us actually going into meditation. And I will be giving, it'll be a guided meditation, so I will be giving instruction periodically. And we can all hone our skills to develop our tools, to develop the method towards the goal, and the goal is unshakable peace. So wherever you are, whatever space you're in, and whatever seat you're using, try and establish a posture that you can sustain without moving for, if possible. If you can sustain a posture for these meditations over the next, on and off over the next 40 minutes or so, 45 minutes. But if you do need to move mindfully. Don't push your body to the point of getting hurt. This is not an exercise for the body. This is an exercise for our emotional world and our intellectual world. So, for instance, I'm sitting on one of these kneeling stools, very good for the posture. Whether you're on the floor or a bench or a seat or something like I'm sitting on, try and line up your ear canal, center of the shoulder socket, and the center of the hip socket. Try and imagine and get the body in line, those 3 points. Maybe gently lean forward and then lean back, and try and find that sweet spot in the middle. And of course, the body, if we are looking at the body, the torso from the side, it has natural curves. You have the curve of the head and the neck, and then the upper back, middle back, lower back, and they have these lovely, natural, crucial curves. So we don't try to flatten those out. Ear, shoulder, hip, and then let the curves in between do what they're supposed to do. Now let's tune in to the body, the bodily experience of the here and now, how the body feels right now. Not what we think, not what we think it feels, but how does it feel without words, without thought? And one way of doing that is by beginning at the crown of the head and just gently, slowly sweep our attention across the top of the head, the forehead, relaxing as we go along, relaxing all the muscles that we bring to our attention. The eyes, all those muscles around the eyes, cheeks, mouth, neck, shoulders, now down the arms. Let the arms hang from the shoulder without pressing them down. Just let gravity do what it does. Hands, we'll check our hands for any tension, not gripping, grabbing. Just let wherever your hands are resting, whether they're in your lap or on maybe your thighs, or just relax, relax. Now returning back up to the torso, moving down the torso. Release and relax any unneeded muscular tension. Just use enough muscular strength to remain in the seated posture. Relax the hip sockets. No gripping. Moving down the thighs, front and back, knees, lower legs, feet. Now, just maintaining a broader awareness, just imagine the whole body from crown of the head to the tips of the toes as being one relaxed body. No excess tension. Keeping attention and mindfulness on the body. Tune in to the breathing that gentle breathing process. The in breath and the out breath. And this process has been going on since the moment we were born. Every day, every hour of every day, every minute, one breath after another. So I like to emphasize tuning into our breath uh, at the part of the body that is easiest for us. Whether it's abdomen, chest, ribs, throat, nose, doesn't matter. This is a mindfulness exercise, so it's wherever we can tune in easiest. So we'll continue like this for several minutes. I'll go into silence. When our attention gets pulled out, for instance, maybe we start thinking, remembering, planning, or a sound or a bodily feeling draws our attention away from the breathing. As soon as we notice, let's just return to the breath. So this is the actual method, the exercise, learning how to notice where our mind is and what we're sensing, what we're thinking and feeling, what we're doing. And it's very natural for the mind and attention to get drawn out. This is totally natural. And just keep returning to that gentle rhythm of the breath. I mentioned the naturalness of thinking. This is something that's obviously very normal. We know that. Emotions, we know that they're the most natural thing as well. And yet sometimes when we take up certain types of meditation, we can almost make an enemy out of thinking and emotion. And in fact, let's take away that last comment about when we take up meditation. I mean, just as people, meditating or not, we can make an enemy. We can demonize thinking and feeling when we're thinking and feeling things that we don't want, especially patterns of thinking, repeated emotions that are hard to bear. And intellectually, it makes sense to want to keep those things away and to get rid of them. That's also a natural response. But it's not really the way to peace. Because that very energy of trying to annihilate and push things away is creating potential problems, and it's not resolving the fundamental cause. And as the Buddha taught in his, what we consider his first teaching or sermon, setting in motion the wheel of Dhamma, Dhammacakka Pavattana Sutta, he lays out this very simple roadmap to see stress, to see pain, to see suffering, and to release pain, suffering, stress. And in the second part of this 4-part teaching, the cause of our discontent, stress, pain is we want something to be other than the way it is. We want something, we either want to acquire something that we don't have, get rid of something that we have that we don't want, change ourselves into something that we want, how we want to be, get rid of things we don't like about ourselves. So the list goes on. So during our meditation, let's practice noticing thinking and noticing emotion. When they arise, and they will, I'm pretty certain for all of us, let's not be in a hurry to push them away and make enemies of them. Let's teach ourselves to recognize and to be the knower of thought and emotion, and let them fade away as we gently return to placing our attention on the breath So we'll go back into silence. I'll turn the microphone off because it's raining here. as we're noticing perhaps thoughts, feelings, emotions, as we become more in tune and aware of these perceptions as they arise, we can also learn how to give them space. As I mentioned earlier, instead of contracting around them and wrestling with them or trying to keep them or keep the good, get rid of what we label the bad. Because both of those, both keeping and pushing away, are stressful. To keep, to guard, to sustain. It can be stressful. To push away, to keep away, to annihilate, stressful. But the more we give space for these things and treat them equally. Our teacher in Thailand, who died nearly 30 years ago, Ajahn, I never met him. I never had that privilege. But he used a phrase in Thai. He spoke Thai, and I've heard different translations, but paraphrasing, it goes along the lines of liking and disliking, equal value. Equal value. And if I'm getting this incorrect, I do apologize. That's why I'm paraphrasing. So like and dislike, or equal value. And the way I reflect on this is that in terms of Dhamma or Dharma, looking at it in terms of phenomena, and they both have the same characteristics. They're impermanent. And because of their impermanence, they're unsatisfactory. They're dukkha, unsatisfactory, stressful. Not able to bring lasting contentment or stable. And also because everything is flowing and impermanent, they don't really have a stable, solid, permanent essence. So to put those into their fundamental three characteristics, you have the impermanence, the unsatisfactoriness, and the not self or empty nature. Now, these are fairly easy words, but to penetrate this, we need to reflect on experience. And when I say reflect, I don't mean to intellectually pick things apart, but to really look at our experience moment by moment whenever we notice something, and look to see, is this permanent? Is this feeling permanent? Is this thought permanent? is this sight, this smell, this taste, this tactile object that I'm feeling, touching. Is any of it permanent? Is anything that I experience satisfying? Lasting satisfaction? Is what I'm experiencing, does it have an unchanging essence? Is there a solidity to that makes it something truly solid? And by sitting or walking quietly, walking meditation, standing meditation, lying meditation, we try to minimize our sense contact in terms of being busy, in terms of being more active. And this gives us an opportunity to reflect on momentary experience. We're not trying to sterilize our minds, sterilize our intellect, sterilize our heart. We are reflecting on what is arising, what is present, and what's passing away. Using the breath as a very uncharged, uninteresting object of meditation to give us a home, a place to return to when a thought or emotion fades away. Also keeping the breath in the background at all times. So we'll go back into silence again and keep practicing, keep opening. And when things arise, see, is it impermanent or permanent? So perhaps as we are silent, sitting, standing, whatever posture we're in right now, perhaps the mind, the intellect and the heart, the intellect and emotional world, perhaps it's beginning to slow down a little bit. Perhaps we're experiencing moments, even just the briefest of moments, where nothing arising. Even just the briefest, shortest time. But does our mindfulness, does our awareness cease? When the thinking mind goes quiet, those moments of no thought, when no emotion is apparent, do we just switch off? Does our awareness switch off, or does it just continue? So these gaps can begin to appear, where all there is brightness, awareness, presence. Might be incredibly brief, just even less than a second or a second. It's like there are these recording devices that only record when there is sound, so that there's not gaps in the recording. So especially anything that's recording like a meeting, so that it keeps the recording shorter. So as soon as there's no sound, it shuts down. But is that what happens to us when we stop thinking and feeling? Does our, comparing it to the recording device, it has an awareness, and then when there's no sound, its awareness shuts off. Of course, it has to have something that wakes it up again, but it stops recording. But that's not the way it is as a human being. When the thinking mind goes quiet or the emotional world goes quiet, we're still there, waiting, watching, sensing. So if we do experience a gap like this, not to make a big deal out of it, it's totally natural, nothing special in many ways, but it tends to go unnoticed, and I would suggest that we pay attention to that, get a feeling for it, and learn how to tune into it. So that we're very familiar with this awareness, or if we want to use the word mindfulness or consciousness, we're familiar with it. And the more familiar we are with it, the easier it is for us to turn towards it or to notice it. So all the things that arise and cease are thoughts, as I said, thoughts, feelings, emotions, sense contact through the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, intellect. These all come and go, but let's take a look and see if awareness, consciousness comes and goes, or whether that is the constant factor or presence. So there's awareness, and there's the content within awareness, content arising and ceasing. And if we do experience this can be a great support in learning how to give space to that very content. The different objects that arise in our awareness. By tuning more and more into the awareness, we can give more and more space to the content. So when the things come into our life, and the things that we want, that we like, that we delight in, we can give them space, we can enjoy them, we can really feel the pleasure in that without clinging, without grasping, without contracting around it. And by not clinging, contracting, then when it changes, it just goes. We've let go of it and it doesn't hurt. When the unwanted is there, the painful, we've given it space. We're not wrestling with it. We're not contracting around it. We're not trying to annihilate it. We don't give it more power by pushing, and we allow it to cease. We've felt it. It's still unpleasant, still painful, but its natural lifespan came to an end, and then it's not a problem. Whether it comes and goes, it's not a problem when it's there, it's not a problem when it goes. We don't make a problem out of the wanted, the delightful. The problem that we generally make around that is that we try to keep it beyond its natural lifespan. So then we can be free to experience life. Of course, when something is wholesome and positive, we can nurture that. Doesn't mean that we can't do anything to it or don't do anything. We can nurture it, but we nurture it without trying to keep it forever, without clinging. When something unwholesome arises, something unwanted, we can learn to relate to that without feeding into it, without fertilizing it, without helping it grow. We can cultivate wholesome states around it. So it's not just a matter of doing nothing. necessarily, but it's whatever we do with mindfulness, with circumspection, with space. And take away the boundaries in the heart, the boundaries in the mind. And that can really help us cultivate this unshakable peace. So when things are tumultuous, chaotic, we can stay on steady ground, not make a problem. And we can just live life as a human being with all that entails. So, I'll ring the bell. So it's 8:30, and I don't know about any of you, but it's been a very long day, very active, and it was lovely to be able to finally sit down. I wish I could see all of you. Nice to sit down together, share space, even though it's cyberspace, but to share our practice. This is a great privilege that we all have to be able to share our practice. Take time out, no matter what time zone we're in. The fact that you've all dedicated an hour of your time to cultivate wholesome qualities, peace. Even if thoughts and feelings may have not been peaceful, we can be peaceful with those. We can cultivate that unshakable peace. So just close by wishing everyone well. And just keep practicing, no matter how short it is, even if it's just a few minutes a day. Don't think that that's insignificant, because it's significant. And to do that is a great gift to ourselves, just to even sit a few minutes and stop, put things down, shut off our devices, just tune into the heart, tune into the mind, and make space. So good night, stay well.